Tonight, we're diving deep into 3 hours of boring Pokémon facts to help you fall asleep. For those of you who've been joining us consistently, I want to thank you for being such an integral part of our channel. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment day 1. Now let's get back to the video. Close your eyes, or if you prefer, let them rest on a single, unmoving point in the room. Take a deep breath in and let it out slowly. You're about to embark on a journey that is intentionally, meticulously, and profoundly unexciting. We're going to talk about Pokémon, but not the high-octane battles, the flashing lights of the anime, or the adrenaline of a last-minute capture. Instead, we are going to dive into the dry, technical, and often repetitive history of a franchise that has spanned 3 decades. We're going to look at copyright filing dates, the specific pixel dimensions of early sprites, the mundane corporate restructuring of the late 90s, and the exhaustive list of regional office openings. This is 3 hours of boring Pokémon facts designed for one purpose, and one purpose only: to help you drift into a deep, effortless sleep. The stakes here are quite simple. In a world that demands your constant attention, where every screen is fighting for a piece of your focus, there is a profound power in the monotonous. Your brain often needs a gentle, rhythmic stream of information to latch onto so that it can eventually let go of the day's stresses. By focusing on the granular details of the action of the day and night cycle in gold and silver, not as a gameplay feature, but as a series of internal clock checks and palette swaps, we will examine the transition to the Game Boy Advance and the introduction of effort values and individual values, the hidden numbers that determine a Pokémon's growth, and how these invisible statistics govern the behavior of every digital creature you have ever caught. We will discuss the specific dates that various Pokémon centers opened in cities like Yokohama, Nagoya, and Fukuoka, and the administrative shifts that occurred when the franchise expanded into South Korea in 2005. This is a journey through time and data. We will cover the specific release windows of every major generation, from the Hoenn region in 2002 to the Paldean region in 2022. We will talk about the shift from 2-dimensional sprites to 3-dimensional models, the implementation of Mega Evolution, and the technical hurdles of creating a global simultaneous launch for Pokémon X and Y. We will even delve into the specific mechanics of the trading card game, focusing on the copyright dates found at the bottom of the cards and the various printing facilities used over the last 30 years. There is no need to remember any of this. There will be no quiz. The information is meant to wash over you like a slow-moving tide. Each fact is a small, unimportant stone on a very long beach. As I speak, feel the tension leave your shoulders, feel the weight of your limbs against the bed. The world of Pokémon is vast, but tonight it is also very, very quiet. We are going to start at the very beginning with a small team of developers in a quiet office in Tokyo, and we won't stop until we have reached the present day, one boring detail at a time. Let the numbers, the dates, and the technical jargon guide you into a peaceful slumber. The journey begins now. In the sleepy suburbs of Machida, a stone's throw from Tokyo's bustling heart, a 10-year-old boy named Satoshi Tajiri transformed sticky summer afternoons into epic quests. Armed with nothing but a net fashioned from pantyhose stretched over a wire hanger and a glass jar clutched in his small hands, he plunged into the wild tangles of bamboo groves and sun-dappled forests that still clung to the city's edges back in the early 1970s. Beetles were his obsession, those iridescent jewels of the insect world, like the massive Goliath beetles he'd heard whispers about from far-off lands, or the local stag beetles with their formidable mandibles that could pinch like pliers if you weren't careful. You can almost hear the rustle of leaves underfoot, feel the humid air thick with the scent of damp earth and pine resin, as Satoshi crouched low, eyes sharp as a hawk's, waiting for that telltale twitch of antennae amid the foliage. He'd spend hours like this, heart pounding, until, snap, the net came down, capturing a prize like a rare Japanese rhinoceros beetle, its horn curving like a samurai's helmet. And gold in the sunlight filtering through rice paper screens, praying mantises swaying like tiny green warriors, and butterflies pinned delicately under glass, their wings a mosaic of impossible colours. Friends gathered around, trading specimens like secret treasures, your Hercules beetle for my Atlas moth cocoon, and Satoshi always came out on top, his collection swelling to hundreds, a boy's kingdom built on wonder. But those forests weren't endless. As the 70s bled into the 80s, Machida changed. Bulldozers growled through the undergrowth, carving out ribbons of asphalt that snaked like scars across the land. Concrete high-rises sprouted where bamboo once whispered, and the streams where dragonfly nymphs lurked dried up under parking lots. Satoshi watched it happen, year by year, his hunting grounds shrinking, the beetles fleeing deeper into vanishing pockets of green. One day, a favourite spot, a mossy hill alive with cicadas' endless drone, became a construction site, the air filled with dust and the metallic tang of machinery. He stood there, jar in hand, empty for the first time in memory, feeling a quiet ache that no 10-year-old should know. The world was erasing his dreams, one swing of the wrecking ball at a time. That loss burrowed deep, fueling late-night thoughts as he pored over his jars by flashlight. What if there was a way to hold on to them forever? To shrink those massive insects down, small enough to carry anywhere? To trade without fear of crushing wings or escaped captives? Picture it, not just beetles, but fantastical creatures born from his sketches, pocket-sized monsters you could hurl into battle or befriend on endless adventures. He scribbled furiously in notebooks, hulking beasts with armoured hides, serpentine dragons coiled in balls, all contained in capsules that clicked open with a satisfying pop. No more fragile jars tipping over on the train ride home. These would be portable, shareable, eternal. Capsule monsters, he called them in his mind, a world where collecting never ended, where urbanization couldn't touch your collection. By his teens, Satoshi channeled that fire into something tangible. He launched a fanzine called Game Freak in 1982, mimeographed pages filled with tips on arcade high scores, but always circling back to his true love, the thrill of the catch, or readers sent in their own bug-hunting tales, and he dreamed bigger, sketching prototypes late into the night. One stood out, a brute of a creature with a drill for a nose, armoured plates like a tank, and horns curling back fiercely. Raiden, though it wouldn't bear that name for years, lumbered off his pencil first, a fusion of every rhinoceros beetle he'd ever chased, now reimagined as a seismic powerhouse that could burrow through mountains. 1989 arrived, and with it, Satoshi's bold leap. Clutching those early drawings, Raiden glaring from the page alongside concepts for capsule battles, he marched into Nintendo's Kyoto offices, heart hammering like a cicada's wings. The executives leaned back, skeptical brows furrowed as he pitched his vision. A handheld game where kids traded digital monsters across linked Game Boys, recreating the joy of swapping beetles on rural paths. Too niche, they murmured, eyes glazing over the crude sketches. Insects don't sell cartridges. Doors closed politely, but Satoshi walked out undeterred, the seed of capsule monsters already rooting deeper. Those rejections stung, yet they only sharpened his resolve, pulling him into a labyrinth of prototypes and dead ends that would test every ounce of that childhood passion. What followed was 6 years of development hell, a grueling saga of near cancellations, tech breakthroughs, and sleepless nights that birthed an empire from a boy's empty jar. From the spark of capsule monsters flickering in Satoshi Tajiri's imagination, turning that childhood nostalgia into a playable game became an obsession that nearly broke his fledgling studio. Game Freak The company Tajiri had bootstrapped just a few years earlier, in 1989, was barely scraping by on a shoestring budget. They'd scraped together enough to release Mendel Palace on the Famicom and Nintendo Entertainment System, a quirky puzzle game that shop, fluorescent lights humming overhead, where a curious kid flips past Super Mario Land, only to pause at these unassuming packages promising a whole world of pocket-sized monsters. Sales trickled in at first, barely cracking a few thousand units in that initial week. Nintendo wasn't exactly pounding the pavement. There were no massive displays in department stores, no celebrity endorsements, just a small listing in Koro Comic Magazine for the die-hard fans who devoured its pages. Game Freak's team held their breath, wondering if 6 years of ramen-fueled nights had birthed something destined for the bargain bin. But then, something organic stirred in the playgrounds and classrooms of Japan. Kids who picked up red or green started whispering about it, showing off their captured Pidgey or that stubborn Rattata they'd finally beaten into submission. "Hey, you gotta try this," one would say, pulling out their scratched-up Game Boy under the desk during recess. Word spread like a slow-burning fuse, from elementary school cliques in Osaka to arcades in Kyoto, as players swapped stories of their first gym badge or the thrill of evolving a Bulbasaur into Ivysaur right before a big battle. What really ignited that spark, turning whispers into a murmur, and then a roar, was the introduction of the link cable. Not just some technical add-on, but the beating heart of social connection in this pixelated universe. Picture two kids huddled on a park bench, their Game Boys wired together with that thin yellow cable snaking between them, eyes locked on screens as Charizard clashes with Blastoise in a frenzy of flashes and beeps. Trading became an obsession. Your exclusive red version Vulpix for my green Oddish, your sealing deals with pinky swears and rematches. It wasn't solitary grinding anymore. The link cable transformed Pokémon into a shared ritual, pulling friends into late-night sessions where battles raged until batteries died. Schools buzzed with impromptu tournaments, older brothers dragging siblings into the fray, and suddenly those 30,000 copies weren't enough. Reprints flew off the presses as demand swelled month by month. Yet the true masterstroke, the event that etched Pokémon into every young gamer's mind, came just weeks later with the legendary Mew giveaway. Nintendo set up special stations in major cities, think bustling department stores in Shibuya, or Nintendo's own events, where players linked up with an official Game Boy loaded with that elusive psychic-type Mew, the mythical creature hidden deep in the code, unobtainable through normal play. You'd queue up, heart-pounding, cable in hand, and trade for it after proving your chops against 7 tough NPC trainers programmed right into the demo carts. The air crackled with excitement, kids clutching their green versions, trading away prized starters just for a shot at Mew, then racing home to stash it in the daycare or teach it psychic blasts. News rippled through Koro and fanzines, photos of beaming winners plastered everywhere, fueling rumours of Mew's powers and secret glitches. This wasn't marketing, it was magic. A limited time lure that made owning red or green feel like holding a golden ticket. By summer, those quiet releases had sold over 1 million combined, climbing steadily as the link cable craze linked neighbourhoods into a web of trades and rivalries. Green, with its slight graphical tweaks like clearer sprites for Mankey and Kadabra, became a collector's whisper among purists, while Red's raw edge hooked the masses. Or Game Freak watched in awe as their nightmare of obscurity flipped into a sleeper phenomenon, all propelled by playground chatter and that indispensable cable tethering dreams together. Parents grumbled about the constant beeping from bedrooms, but kids were hooked, charting the Kanto region on graph paper, debating type matchups like tiny strategists. The buzz kept building through autumn, with empty shelves becoming the norm and black market trades popping up at conventions. Mew hunts became urban legends, kids biking across town for one last event before they ended. It was this grassroots fire, word of mouth fanned by cables and giveaways, that rescued Pocket Monsters from the shadows, proving that in a world of bombastic launches, quiet persistence could summon a revolution. And as that revolution simmered toward an even bigger explosion, a new layer of obsession was about to unfold, one that would trade cartridges for cards and battles for booster packs. Stay tuned for Chapter 4. The birth of the trading card game, where the real mania begins to take shape. As word of mouth spread about those elusive Mew distributions and the hidden depths of Kanto's wilds, Game Freak found themselves with a budding phenomenon on their hands. But they knew the hunger for Pokémon wouldn't stop at the Game Boy screen. Enter Media Factory, a publisher already dipping toes into the trading card waters with titles like Magic, The Gathering knockoffs, who saw untapped gold in Satoshi Tajiri's creature collecting dream. On October 20th, in 1996, just 8 months after Red and Green shuffled onto shelves, they unleashed the first physical Pokémon trading card game booster packs across Japan. Picture the scene in those early Tokyo hobby shops, kids clutching fresh wrappers, ripping them open to reveal glossy cards that brought the pixelated battles of the games straight to the tabletop. No more waiting for turn-based animations. This was instant showdowns, shuffled decks clashing over kitchen tables and school desks. Media Factory didn't just slap Pokémon names on cardboard, they meticulously translated the core RPG mechanics that made the video games addictive. Hit points, or HP, became the lifeblood of every card, a numerical shield dictating how much punishment your Blastoise could tank before splashing into defeat. Type advantages flowed seamlessly from screen to sleeve, preserving that rock-paper-scissors thrill. A fiery Charizard scorching a Bulbasaur for double damage, while grass withered against flying wings. It all mirrored the Game Boy's elemental dance. But now you could feel the paper's texture under your fingers, hear the shuffle of 60 cards, smell the fresh ink on foils that caught the light just right. Players built decks around these affinities, strategizing retreats, evolutions, and energy attachments in a rhythm that echoed Tajiri's bug-hunting patience, turning solitary handheld adventures into head-to-head rivalries. But what truly hooked those first collectors were the rarities etched into the game's DNA from day one. Common cards flooded the packs, your everyday Rattata and Pidgey for the masses. But then came the uncommons with subtle borders, hinting at something more, and the rares, oh, those holographic treasures, stamped with a black star symbol that screamed scarcity. Pull a holographic Venusaur, and you trade your entire lunch for it. The odds hovered around 1 in 3 packs, but the thrill of the chase mimicked the rarity hunts in the games themselves, like stumbling on a wild shiny in the grass. At the heart of this visual alchemy stood artist Mitsuhiro Arita, whose brushstrokes defined the Pokémon aesthetic before anyone outside Japan even knew the name. Arita, with his background in fantasy illustrations for manga and games, poured dynamic energy into those early cards. Charmeleon mid-roar, flames-licking realistic scales, eyes fierce with untamed power. His style blended hyper-detailed anatomy with a whimsical glow, eye muscles rippling under hides that looked ready to leap off the card. Take his iconic Blastoise, cannons primed, shell textured like weathered armor, water jets arcing in explosive arcs. It wasn't cartoonish, it was alive, majestic, pulling you into a world where these beasts felt tangible, collectible trophies from Tajiri's childhood forests. Arita's work set the gold standard, influencing every artist who followed. His holographic Zapdos crackled with electric menace, wings spanning the card's width, feathers edged in metallic shimmer that danced under fluorescent lights. Parents grumbled about the gambling aspect of pack openings, but kids felt the rush of discovery, mirroring the "gotta catch 'em all" mantra. Media Factory printed millions, yet shortages hit fast, stores rationing boosters, a black market sprouting in Akihabara alleys, where a single promo card fetched yen equal to a week's allowance. The game's rule set evolved quickly too, balancing the video game fidelity with tabletop flow. Energy cards, those colourful orbs powering attacks, forced deliberate plays, no spamming Hyper Beam without build-up. Trainer cards like Professor Oak shuffled your hand fresh, echoing item usage from the games, while Pokémon themselves retreated to benches, building armies of evolutions from humble Caterpie to mighty Butterfree. Tournaments popped up in community centres by late 1996, kids yelling, "It's not a weakness!" as types clashed, fostering rivalries that spilled back into playground Pokémon battles. Yet beneath the frenzy, subtle nods to the source material wove in. Cards captured Evolution's stages perfectly. Eevee branching into Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon with type-specific prowess. Rare promo cards, distributed at events or bundled with manga, teased future secrets, like the ghostly Haunter lurking in shadows. Arita's art elevated it all. His Dragonite sword with windswept scales and piercing gaze, a legendary feel even for a pseudo-legendary, making every pull feel epic. Media Factory iterated fast, releasing base set expansions with over 100 cards by 1997, introducing gyms as victory conditions and prizes drawn per knockout. The economic model hooked deep. Commons for casual play, rares for status, holos for dreams. Japanese players devoured it, sales eclipsing expectations, proving Pokémon's appeal transcended screens. Whispers of international ports began, but G-spots featuring Pikachu's Thunderbolts, zapping cereal boxes, and kids trading cards on playgrounds. It wasn't marketing, it was a battle cry. Billboards in Times Square pulsed with Charizard's flames, while radio jingles looped the slogan until it burrowed into dreams. The trading card game followed suit, launching stateside in 1999, but the hype train had already left the station. Kids formed lines wrapping around Blockbuster for midnight launches, swapping tips on evolving their Kadabra without trading partners. Pokémon centers popped up, not just stores, but shrines stacked with plushies, figurines, and booster packs that vanished like legendary birds at dawn. By spring 1998, the Pokémon Company International had formed, a powerhouse blending Nintendo, Creatures Incorporated, Inns and Game Freak to orchestrate the frenzy. Their first move? Coordinating the anime's US premiere on September 7th, 1998, right as Red and Blue dropped. Ash Ketchum, that spiky-haired 10-year-old from Pallet Town, burst onto Kids WB with Pikachu on his shoulder, battling Team Rocket's comically inept schemes. Episodes aired dubbed with a twang that made Brock's failed flirtations endlessly quotable. Manga volumes hit comic shops, and the TCG's organised play events turned community centres into coliseums, where 8-year-olds debated Venusaur's poison powder strategy for hours. Then came the Silver Screen Hammer. On July 18th, 1998, in Japan, Pokémon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, shattered expectations. Directed by Kunihiko Yuyama, it plunged viewers into a cloned Mewtwo's rage against its creators, unleashing psychic storms over New Island that cracked the ocean itself. Voice actors like Veronica Taylor as Ash brought raw emotion to lines like, "I choose you, Pikachu," as the little mouse faced godlike fury. Japanese theatres sold out for weeks, grossing over $43 million domestically, a record for animation at the time. When it rolled into North America on November 10th, 1998, backed by Warner Brothers Osho, the box office quaked. Over $85 million worldwide from the first film alone, with US kids dragging parents to IMAX screens, screaming as Mewtwo's barrier shattered. Merch flew off shelves, Mewtwo plushies outsold Barbie dolls that holiday season. Pokemania wasn't a fad, it was fever. Schools banned trades to curb fights over holographic Charizards, valued at hundreds even then. News crews filmed stampedes at Walmart for the TCG's base set, where first edition Bills cards became kid-sized fortunes. Nintendo's stock ticked up as Game Boy sales doubled, and the company rushed Yellow's enhanced Pikachu adventure for $19.99. Pokémon Centers opened in Sunshine City, Tokyo that November, a gleaming 3-story haven where fans knelt before glass cases of rare merch, inhaling the scent of fresh printed posters. Globally, it rippled. Europe got dubbed episodes, Australia hosted tournaments, and even Korea eyed expansion. By 2000, over 200 million games sold, TCG packs numbering in the tens of millions, numbers that redefined gaming forever. Yet beneath the roar, cracks hinted at transitions ahead. Whispers from Game Freak's Kyoto offices spoke of new regions beyond Kanto, gold-hued lands teeming with 100 fresh beasts. Players trading blue version exclusives wondered what came next for Red's lineage. That curiosity simmered as Pokemania peaked, setting the stage for evolutions no one saw coming. Stick around for Chapter 6, the Johto transition, where we uncover how Gold and Silver didn't just build on Kanto's ashes, they rewrote the rules of time itself, pulling players into a sequel that bent the very timeline of the Pokémon world. As Pokemania gripped the globe, turning Pokémon from a quiet Japanese curiosity into an unstoppable force, Game Freak huddled in their cramped Tokyo offices, already sketching the bones of a sequel. Red and Blue had conquered charts worldwide, but the team knew one region wouldn't cut it anymore. They dreamed bigger, a fresh land called Johto, teeming with new Pokémon, but connected seamlessly to Kanto, that familiar cradle of adventure. Players would journey west from New Bark Town, only to loop back east after claiming the championship, unlocking the old haunts in a post-game odyssey. It sounded epic, a double-world sprawl on the humble Game Boy cartridge. Yet cartridges back then held rigid limits, mere megabits of space, and squeezing 2 full regions, hundreds of routes, gyms, trainers, and over 100 new beasts felt like defying physics. The pressure mounted through 1997 and into 98. Game Freak's director Shigeki Morimoto and his crew prototyped relentlessly, mapping Johto's misty hills and bustling cities like Ecruteak and Goldenrod. But every test build ballooned past capacity. Graphics refined from Generation 1's blocky charm strained the hardware further. Shinier sprites, animated trainer walks, even breeding mechanics at the daycare. They culled features, debated cutting Kanto entirely, but the vision held firm, a pilgrimage that honoured the past while forging ahead. Whispers of doubt echoed in late-night crunches. Could they pull it off without compromising the soul of exploration? Enter Satoru Iwata, a programming wizard from HAL Laboratory, the minds behind Kirby. Nintendo tapped him in '98, not just for his code chops, but his reputation for miracles. Iwata dissected the Gold and Silver engine like a surgeon, wielding custom compression algorithms that shaved bytes without sacrificing a single Pokémon cry or wild encounter. He rewrote core data structures, packing maps tighter than a Pokeball mid-battle. Text got clever, repetitive phrases shared memory pools, even battle animations looped with ruthless efficiency. The result? They fit Johto's verdant expanse and Kanto's revisited shores onto one cartridge, a technical triumph that clocked in under 8 megabits. Iwata later called it decompression in reverse, a feat so elegant it became legend, paving his path to Nintendo's presidency. Without him, that post-game nostalgia hit, the surf from Vermilion to Cinnabar, the eerie Pokémon Tower revisit, might have stayed a pipe dream. But Gold and Silver didn't stop at spatial wizardry. They breathed new life into the daily rhythm of your adventure. Dawn broke on your Game Boy screen, tinting routes in soft morning haze, wild Pokémon shifting with the clock. Hoothoot rustled only at dusk, nocturnal eyes gleaming under pixelated stars. Your internal clock ticked in real time, syncing sleeps and cycles, making every play session feel alive, tethered to your world. Miss a Luna phase? No Lunatone for you. It was a quiet revolution, pulling players into Johto's Pulse, fishing at twilight for nocturnal Goldeen variants, or stumbling on Spinarak webs after dark. Held items added another layer of strategy, tucked right into your Pokemon's grasp. No longer passive stats, now your Chikorita clutched a berry to heal mid-fight, or a quick claw for a surprise first strike. Leftovers dripped passive recovery, turning endurance battles into chess matches. Crafted from Bill's PC upgrades and real-world inspirations like tool belts, these pocket trinkets rewarded foresight. Stock the bag before the Elite Four. Watch your team outlast rivals. Johto's apricorns yielded custom balls at Kurt's house, tying items to the land itself, where hollowed nuts birthed fast balls for speedy foes, or heavy balls for the colossal. These touches wove Johto into something intimate, yet fast. You started small, a kid from a sleepy town, with Totodile snapping at your heels. But the world unfolded in waves, kimono girls dancing under Goldenrod's radio tower, the eerie tin tower summoning Ho-Oh's rainbow plumage. Legendaries like Suicune dashed across misty peaks, their roars echoing your triumphs. Gold and Silver launched in Japan on November 21st, 1999, just in time for Crystal's enhancements the next year, but that cartridge miracle set the template for generations. Yet even as Johto beckoned, a curious void lingered in the timeline, a 3-year gap that reshaped everything we thought we knew about the Pokémon world. Chapter 7. The 3-year gap unravels that mystery next, and trust me, it hides secrets that'll keep you listening through the night. With Satoru Iwata's compression wizardry making that post-game journey back to Kanto possible, you cross the sea from Johto, docking at Vermilion City, under a sky that somehow feels heavier, more seasoned. Gyms stand quieter, roots whisper of changes you can't quite place. And then it hits. NPCs murmuring about how 3 full years have slipped by since you last walked these paths as a wide-eyed kid from Pallet Town. That's the quiet genius of Gold, Silver, and Crystal. They don't just stack regions like map layers. They etch time into the world itself, turning your triumphant return into a homecoming laced with absence and evolution. You feel it first in the subtle shifts. The Viridian Gym, once a shadowed throne for Giovanni, now pulses with a different energy. Blue, your eternal rival, the cocky kid who shadowed your every step from Route 1 onward, has stepped up. He's the new gym leader there, badge in hand, his team hardened by those intervening years. Walk into his gym, and he greets you not with taunts, but with a nod of respect earned through battles unspoken. "I've been waiting for you," he says, his voice carrying the weight of someone who's filled the void left by greater ambitions. Blue's rise isn't handed to him. It's forged in the fires of Team Rocket's collapse after your Gen 1 heroics. With Giovanni vanished, rumours swirl that he abandoned his criminal empire to chase Mewtwo's shadow somewhere far off. Blue claims the helm, stabilising Viridian as a proper challenge on the Indigo Plateau circuit. His Alakazam gleams sharper, his team a mirror of your growth, but laced with that bittersweet maturity. You battle him, of course, and win the Earth Badge, but it's more than a fight. It's closure on a rivalry that spanned regions and now time itself. Yet the real ache of those 3 years echoes in the emptiest spaces. Red, your name, your legend, the unbeatable champion who toppled Team Rocket and etched his name into eternity, has vanished. No fanfare, no farewell parade through Pallet Town. Inquiries lead you to an old man on the peak of Mount Silver, his words cutting through the howling winds. "My grandson went up there, to become even stronger." You trek those treacherous slopes, blizzards whipping at your coat, ice caves creaking underfoot, until you find him. Red stands silent atop the summit, cap pulled low, Pikachu at his side, like a loyal spectre. No words, just the clash of ultimate power. His team a roster of Kanto's finest. Levels pushed to 40-something pinnacles, Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise roaring from the shadows. Beating him cements you as the true world champion, but his disappearance lingers like frostbite. Why retreat to isolation? The games hint at a quest for transcendence, beyond badges or titles, echoing the silent drive that made him champion in the first place. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes, this moment deepens. The snowy expanse feels vast, eternal. Red, a mythic figure, frozen in time. He's challenging you to surpass the unsurpassable. That gap, those 3 years, reshapes more than just heroes. Team Rocket hold your doubled roster. Crystal Edition layers in more nuance, with Suicune's graceful pursuits across the region, hinting at ecological shifts in those years. Beasts roaming freer now that Rocket's grip loosened. Poke around Pallet Town, and Mum's house feels cozier, lived in, a subtle nod to time's gentle erosion. It's this immersion that elevates Gold and Silver beyond sequels. They're time capsules, bridging your childlike adventure in Kanto to a young adult's odyssey in Johto, with Red's exile as the poignant hinge. As you descend Mount Silver, badge collection complete and legend secured, the weight of those 3 years settles like fresh snow. But Game Freak wasn't done compressing eras into cartridges. Coming up in Chapter 8, Hoenn and the Technical Reset, you'll uncover how they hit pause on interconnected timelines to reinvent the wheel with double battles and a whole new ocean of secrets, leaving Kanto and Johto as distant echoes, while birthing mechanics that still ripple through every game today. While Blue takes the helm at Viridian Gym, and Red fades into the misty peaks of Mount Silver, the Pokémon world pauses for breath, but in our reality, the gap stretched far longer. It took Game Freak 6 full years, after Gold and Silver, to deliver the next chapter. A bold leap that redefined everything you thought you knew about training Pokémon. On November 21st, 2002, Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire arrived exclusively on the Game Boy Advance in Japan, followed by a North American release the following March. This wasn't just a new pair of games, it marked the dawn of Generation 3, and Hoenn, a sun-soaked archipelago of volcanic islands, dense jungles and underwater caves that felt worlds apart from Kanto's familiar shores or Johto's rolling hills. The Game Boy Advance brought a sturdier build, a wider screen bathed in vivid 32-bit colours, and cartridges that could hold twice the data of their Game Boy Color predecessors. You could finally see the shimmer of a Pokémon's scales under tropical sunlight, or the ripple of waves crashing against Route 104's sandy beaches, details that popped in ways the old monochrome haze never allowed. Yet this upgrade came with a sting that divided the community like never before. Game Freak made the controversial call to sever ties completely with the past. No more popping your Ruby cartridge into a Game Boy Color to trade with friends, still grinding in gold or crystal. Saves from Generations 1 and 2 were locked out. Pokémon couldn't migrate forward without elaborate workarounds, and even the simplest link cable trades between old and new hardware sputtered to a halt. Fans flooded forums and magazines with outrage. How dare they erase years of progress? Your level 100 Typhlosion, meticulously bred and battled through the Elite Four a dozen times, now sat stranded on dusty cartridges, ghosts of a bygone era. Developers justified it as a necessary reset. The Advance's power demanded fresh code, unburdened by backward baggage, allowing for mechanics that would have choked on older tech. But for players, it felt like betrayal, a forced fresh start when all they wanted was evolution. That reset unlocked doors to complexity you'd feel in every battle, starting with abilities, those hidden traits etched into a Pokémon's essence, awakening only under specific triggers. Picture your Swampert diving into a rain-soaked arena. Its torrent ability surges, boosting water-type moves by 50% when health dips low, turning desperation into dominance. Or a Groudon stomping the field, its drought igniting eternal sunshine that amps fire attacks and wilts water foes before they strike. Over 100 abilities debuted across Hoenn's lineup, From speed boost on Blaziken, stacking swiftness turn after turn, to levitate on Rayquaza, he's shrugging off ground-type assaults like they were mere breezes. These weren't random flavors, they layered strategy atop types and movesets, forcing you to scout opponents, predict activations, and build teams around synergies. A simple Rayquaza with Airlock could neutralize weather warpers like Kyogre, flipping team compositions in an instant. Game Freak drew from real-world ecology, where animals adapt uniquely to habitats. Hoenn's Pokémon embodied that. Their abilities pulsing like instincts honed by island survival. Layered on top came nature's subtle shapers of potential that whispered through a Pokémon's growth. When you caught or hatched one, it bore a hidden nature, like adamant or modest, nudging one stat upward by 10% while quietly sapping another. Your perfect physical sweeper might emerge jolly, a hastening speed at special attack's expense, ideal for outpacing foes but dooming special sweeps. Breeders pored over Ditto ranches, soft resetting eggs for hours to chase that flawless, timid nature on a Salamence, where speed and special attack bloom together. It added this intimate touch to training. You weren't just leveling, you were sculpting souls, attuned to each Pokémon's quirks. In Hoenn's contest halls, where flair mattered as much as power, a nature's tilt could mean the difference between a ribbon and ridicule, as judges eyed your beautifully's poised elegance or your Mightyana's fierce poise. But the true labyrinth lay in effort values, or EVs, a system so intricate it rewarded mathematicians as much as battlers. Generations 1 and 2 hinted at this with hidden stats, individual values or IVs, capping potential from birth, but Hoenn formalized EVs as the grind's beating heart. Every defeated foe granted points, 3 to the winner's strongest stat, distributed like vitamins across 6 categories: hit points, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, speed. Cap at 256 per stat, 610 total, but Overflow nuanced it further, with every 4 EVs yielding a single in-battle point. Vitamins like protein slashed the farm time, yet wild battles in the Victory Road caves or Elite 4 rematches became EV hunts. Your Zigzagoon snagging 1 speed EV per Route 118 sprint, while a defeated Breloom dumped 10 in attack. Competitive players mapped spreadsheets, plotting 6 Pokémon teams to hit 0 waste yields. A trio of defeated foes, perfectly tuning your Slaking's attack without bloating defense. It transformed the post-game into an obsession, where a level 100 Rayquaza's raw power hinged on those invisible tallies, glimpsed only via the Pokédex's arcane menu. Critics called it bloated, a barrier to casual play, but for purists, EVs elevated Pokémon to a competitive art form where victory bloomed from patient calculation. Hoenn's reset didn't stop at mechanics. It reshaped battles themselves. Double battles erupted in the Trick House and Tower, demanding positional awareness, your lead duo weaving protects and follows to outmaneuver rivals. Contests in Slateport and Falabor tested rhythm and appeal, your Pokémon strutting under spotlights with moves like Appeal or Encore, ribbons dangling as badges of showmanship. Secret bases dotted the route network, customizable hideouts where you trade OT codes with friends, embedding furniture and decor in shared digital layers. And beneath the waves, Dive unveiled submerged ruins teeming with Clamperl and Relicanth, a vertical layer to exploration that GBC hardware could only dream of rendering. This technical chasm sparked debates that echo today. Progress at what cost? Ruby and Sapphire sold over 16 million copies combined, proving the gamble paid off, but the divide lingered until Fire Red and Leaf Green bridged it back to Kanto a year later. Emerald refined it all in 2004, weaving Ruby's land and Sapphire's sea into a balanced epic, with the Battle Frontier testing EV-honed squads against masterful aces. Hoenn forced you to adapt, to rebuild from ash, mirroring the volcanic heart of its legendaries, Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza, primal forces clashing in primal rain and drought. As Hoenn's skies clear and its legends slumber, the stage dims for a region born from cosmic origins, where time, space, and antimatter weave the fabric of existence itself. Tune in next for Chapter 9, The Creation Myth of Sinnoh, unraveling the divine triad that scripted the universe's first breath and how it forever altered Pokémon's soul. After the bold reset of Ruby and Sapphire on the Game Boy Advance, severing ties with the past generations to embrace double battles, abilities, and natures, Game Freak turned their gaze northward to a frozen frontier shrouded in myth. Diamond and Pearl arrived on September 28th, 2006 in Japan, and April 22nd, 2007 in North America on the dual-screen wonder of the Nintendo DS. This wasn't just another region, it was Sinnoh, a land carved from jagged mountains, vast lakes and eternal snowfields where every gust of wind whispered ancient secrets. You step off the boat in Sandgem Town, the crisp air biting at your skin as Professor Rowan hands you your starter Pokémon. But from the outset, something feels different. The world here pulses with a deeper rhythm, one rooted in creation itself. Sinnoh's story doesn't begin with a rival's taunt or a gym badge chase. It unfolds through crumbling ruins, faded murals on cavern walls, and yellowed scrolls in forgotten libraries, pulling you into a theology that questions the very fabric of existence. Wander into Celestic Town, nestled in the heart of the region, and you'll find the ruins pulsing with ethereal light. There, etched into stone slabs older than memory, lies the creation myth, the origin tale of Sinnoh. Revered by the locals as divine truth, it speaks of a formless void, a chaos without time or space, until the original one emerged. Arceus, they call it, to summon the Lake Guardians, Elzelf, a Mesprit, and Uxie, embodiments of willpower, emotion, and knowledge to restore harmony. The myth echoes beyond the games. In the anime's Diamond and Pearl series, Ash and friends tangle with these deities across episodes laced with Sinnoh's lore. Then the films. The rise of Darkrai in July 2007, pitting shadows against light in Alamos Town. Giratina and the Sky Warrior the next year, bridging worlds through rifts. And Arceus and the Jewel of Life in 2009, where the original one's wrath nearly dooms history. These movies, released mere months after the games in Japan, deepen the theology, showing Arceus not as benevolent god, but a force as capricious as creation itself. Yet Sinnoh's revolution extended beyond myth. Diamond and Pearl ushered in the era of connectivity, transforming solitary adventures into a global web. Nestled in every Pokémon Center stood the Global Trade Station, or GTS, a glowing terminal where you deposited your Pokémon, typing requests like, "Want Magmortar? We'll trade Rhyperior." Thousands worldwide responded overnight, your team evolving through trades spanning continents. No more begging friends. Now, a kid in Twin Leaf Town swapped with someone in Tokyo, hatching eggs across time zones. And battling? Wi-Fi crashed onto the scene. Step into the underground battle room, or link up online, and suddenly you're facing trainers from Japan, Europe, anywhere. The DS's dual screens displayed opponents' stats in real time. Lag be damned in those early days. Tournaments brewed globally, strategies refined through midnight matchups. Platinum refined it further, adding Shaymin's Skyform, Rotom's appliances, and Giratina's Origin Beast Mode, all tradable via GTS. This was the dawn of Pokémon as a living network, where Sinnoh's myths met modern machinery. Rowan's lab overlooked Route 201, a humble path to Jubilife City, but from there, your quest unraveled the cosmos. Myths etched in ice and stone, traded across seas, battled under digital stars. Sinnoh made the world feel infinite, yet intimately connected. As Team Plasma's ideals challenge the bonds you forged across regions, we'll uncover the Unova soft reboot next, where fresh faces and shadowed ambitions redefine what it means to be a trainer. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. After unraveling the threads of creation in Sinnoh, where Arceus wove time, space, and antimatter into the fabric of existence through Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, the Pokémon world turned its gaze toward a land reborn from scratch. Unova emerged in 2010, not as an extension of ancient myths, but as a deliberate clean slate, a region where every blade of grass in its sprawling cities and windswept plains whispered of reinvention. You step off the boat in Nuvema town, the salty breeze carrying hints of urban sprawl from distant Castelia city. Your starter, Snivy, Tepig, or Oshawott, nuzzles close, the only familiar comfort in a world stripped bare. No Pidgey flutters overhead. No Rattata scurries in the shadows. Game Freak made the audacious call with Black and White. Lock away every single Pokémon from the first 4 generations until the credits roll. 156 brand new creatures fill the Pokédex, from the steadfastly loyal Samurott to the ethereal Serperior, each designed to stand alone, forcing you to bond with strangers in a familiar yet alien ecosystem. This wasn't mere novelty, it mirrored Unova's inspiration, drawn from the electric pulse of New York City, skyscrapers piercing the sky in Castelia, the opulent opulence of Nimbasa's amusement park, the desolate drifts of Twist Mountain echoing industrial decay. Developers wanted you immersed, unburdened by nostalgia, discovering type advantages anew as you navigate Pinwheel Forest's misty thickets or the charged underbelly of the Driftvale Gym. Imagine training a Patrat, that unassuming lookout Pokémon, into a Watchog whose Illuminate ability pierces the dark, mechanics refined with triple battles and rotation battles adding layers to every encounter. The post-game unlocks the floodgates, Kanto to Sinnoh, spilling into Unova's eastern expanse, but only after you've conquered the League, a reward for embracing the unfamiliar. Yet beneath this fresh canvas pulsed a deeper question, one that gnawed at the heart of what it means to be a trainer. Team Plasma arrived not as cartoonish villains hurling bombs or summoning legendaries for conquest, but as zealots draped in medieval cloaks, preaching liberation from the Pokéball's cold embrace. Their king, Hoenn, pale-haired, emerald-eyed, raised in isolation among Pokémon, believed capture was slavery, a theft of freedom. He spoke to them as equals, his voice harmonizing with their cries in Driftvale's shadows or atop Nimbasa's Ferris wheel, where the lights twinkled like distant stars. Picture the ideological storm brewing in Nacrene City's museum, where plasma sages debate ethics amid fossil exhibits. Is it right to command a Pokémon to battle? To pit and bore against Haxorus in the roar of the League? Ghetsis, the shadowy sage pulling strings, twists this philosophy into tyranny. His Hydreigon, a symbol of hypocritical control. You confront it all in the Pokémon League's shadowed throne room, where Hoenn releases legendaries Reshiram and Zekrom, truth and ideals incarnate, challenging your worldview. White Forest and Black City expand the debate post-game, one a haven for wild Pokémon thriving free, the other a cutthroat hub of trainer rivalries. Plasma's arc forces you to whisper to your team at night under Unova's starlit Route 18. Are we partners or captors? This moral rift echoed beyond the story, sparking fan debates that raged across forums and conventions. Black and White sold millions, their anime adaptation delving deeper with Ash grappling similar doubts amid the D-Color Island's adventures. But Unova didn't end with a single pair. For the first time, Game Freak crafted direct sequels, Black 2 and White 2, released 2 years later in 2012, set explicitly 2 years after the original's events. Return to Unova, now scarred by Plasma's remnants. Nacrene Gym lies in ruins, a stark reminder of Ghetsis' failed coup. New protagonist, new rival, Hoenn driven by a stolen family Pokémon, and a Pokédex bursting to over 300, blending old and new seamlessly from the start. Black 2 towers over Black City as Black Tower, a battle coliseum ascending 30 floors of escalating peril, while White 2's White Forest blooms into a nature preserve teeming with rare spawns. The timeline pins it firmly, 2 years post-N, with cameos from original characters aged subtly. Jaren wiser, Bianca more resolute, tying loose ends like N's fractured ideals, and the reformed Plasma faction under Colress's scientific guess reminded you Evolution's flash could doom worlds if unchecked. As Kalus's lights dim, the series sails towards sun-kissed shores, where traditions shatter and fresh faces redefine what it means to train. In the next chapter, the Alolan departure, you'll uncover how Pokémon broke every rule it ever set. What happens when islands demand you start from scratch, and exotic evolutions hide in plain sight. After the shimmering bursts of Mega Evolution, transformed battles across Kalos, Pokémon Sun and Moon whisked trainers away to the sun-drenched shores of Alola in November of 2016, still on the Nintendo 3DS, but with a radical twist that shattered every expectation built from decades of gym-hopping journeys. You arrive on Melemele Island, the smallest of Alola's 4 volcanic paradises, where salty breezes carry the scent of plumeria flowers and the distant crash of waves against black lava rock. No towering gym badges gleam in the distance here. Instead, the path forward unfolds through the Island Challenge, a rite of passage rooted in Alola's ancient traditions. Guided by trial captains who test your spirit with puzzles tied to the land itself, solving riddles amid buzzing insect swarms on Melemele, or navigating fiery trials on Akala that mimic the island's restless volcanoes. Each captain leads you to a grand trial against a kahuna, the island's elder guardian, but these aren't your standard 8-badge gauntlet. Picture facing a totem Pokémon, a wild behemoth swollen with power, calling allies to its side in a frenzy of dynamic battles that feel alive, pulsing with the island's untamed energy. Hala on Melemele, with his mighty Cray Brawler, Olivia on Akala, unearthing lichen rock from Akala's rugged cliffs, Nanu on Ula Ula, shrouded in shadows that whisper of the island's haunted past, and Hapu on Pony, her Mudsdale, stomping through canyons carved by ancient floods. These clashes culminate at the Manalo Conference, not a league of elite trainers, but a summit where the strongest prove themselves without the old Kanto mould. This departure from gyms breathed new life into the formula, echoing Alola's isolation, cut off by ocean vastness, its people-forged traditions from harmony with nature, not conquest. Zip moves emerged as the spark of this era, crystalline stones channeling a Pokémon's fighting spirit into cataclysmic strikes, Gigavolt havoc from Pikachu's cheeks, or Inferno Overdrive scorching the air with primal fury. You feel the ground tremble as your partner unleashes one, a bond deepened by Alola's emphasis on friendship over raw power. But Alola's true wonder lay in its Pokémon themselves, twisted by the island's unique ecology into regional variants. Forms evolved in isolation, adapting to survive where mainland kin could not. Take the Rattata that scurries under palm fronds here, sleek and dark-furred in the day, but its Alolan cousin, plump and purple, thrives nocturnally as an ice and dark type, its oversized incisors chipping frozen treats left by tourists, forcing a chilling adaptation to hoard icy scraps in the humid tropics. Raichu balloons into a surfing behemoth on Alolan beaches, its tail a rideable board crackling with psychic surges, born from pancakes fried on electric griddles washing ashore. Grimer oozes as purple sludge in Alola's polluted streams, absorbing toxins from industrial runoff near Hiahia City, mutating into a poison and dark muck that engulfs foes in toxic hugs. Even Vulpix curls as a snowy kit, its Alolan form shimmering blue with ice breath to cool overheated volcanic slopes, while sandshrew burrows, armoured shells hardened by salty coastal winds into ice and steel resilience. These variants whisper a profound truth about Pokémon biology. Ecology shapes destiny. Cut off from the continent for millennia, Alola's fragmented islands, each with microclimates from rain-lashed jungles to windswept plateaus, drove speciation. Executor towers as a palm tree mimic, swaying in trade winds. Minccino grooms with corrosive oils to fend off tropical molds. Type shifts defy logic until you breathe the air thick with volcanic ash or taste the briny spray, realizing how prey, predators, and environment sculpt fangs, fur, and fury anew. Deeper still, Alola peeled back the veil on the multiverse. Ultra beasts crashed through wormholes from ultra space, extra-dimensional rifts flickering like heat haze over the sea. Nihiligo, the jellyfish-like harbinger, ensnares minds with neurotoxins, its tentacles pulsing with otherworldly light. Buzzwole flexes mosquito bulk pumped on alien proteins. Pheromosa dances with blade-thin elegance, fragile yet untouchably swift. Kartana slices air into ribbons, a paper crane forged in cosmic forges. Celesteela rockets skyward on steel spores, a fern from fractured realities. The Ether Foundation, perched pristine on Ether Paradise, a floating fortress amid the waves, promised conservation. But Lusamine, its enigmatic president, hungered for these invaders. Obsessed with their beauty, she tore open ultra wormholes, flooding Alola with circuitry's electric veins, snaking through ruins. Guzzlord's maw devouring villages in gluttonous voids, and Stakataka's ancient bricks stacking into mobile fortresses. You chase them through fractured dimensions, where gravity warps and colours bleed unnaturally, confronting the horrifying truth. Our world is one thread in an infinite tapestry, ultra-megalopolis lurking as a shadowed mirror. Sun and moon etched Alola into the lore as a pivot, blending cultural reverence with cosmic horror, where island challenges tempered your soul amid paradise's perils. And variants proved Pokémon as living archives of adaptation. Yet whispers from beyond the stars hinted at even grander upheavals ahead. As we drift toward Chapter 13, the Galar Industrial Revolution, you'll uncover how steam-powered spectacles and crown-tipped ambitions reshaped the League into a roaring spectacle. Stick around to see factories belch smoke over misty moors, where tradition collides with machine-made might in ways that will keep your dreams churning. After Alola shook up the formula with its island trials and those fascinating regional variants that showed how environments could reshape Pokémon down to their very colours and cries, Game Freak turned their gaze to a land pulsing with the grit and glory of industry. Pokémon Sword and Shield arrived in November 2019, thrusting players into Galar, a sprawling region modelled after the United Kingdom, where colossal stadiums rise like cathedrals of competition, and battling isn't just a personal quest, it's the heartbeat of the nation. Picture the roar of crowds echoing through rain-slicked streets, the flash of spotlights cutting through foggy nights. In Galar, Pokémon battles have evolved into a full-blown sport, the Gym Challenge serving as the ultimate proving ground for aspiring champions. You start as a wide-eyed kid from Postwick, but soon you're thrust into the league's spotlight, challenging 8 gym leaders in massive arenas packed with cheering fans. Each leader embodies a type and a profession: fire-forged steel workers, water-soaked surfers, ghost-haunting artists, turning every match into a spectacle worthy of the world's biggest leagues. These aren't quiet roadside gyms anymore. No, the battles unfold on grand stages with live commentators hyping the action, holographic displays tracking stats in real time, and supporters chanting from the stands. Victory means advancing toward the Champion Cup, a tournament that crowns the season's top trainer amid fireworks and fanfare. It's Pokémon meets professional wrestling crossed with soccer fever, where your bond with your team isn't hidden in tall grass. It's broadcast for all of Galar to witness. Trainers wear uniforms, scouts prowl for talent, and even the champion, Leon, strides in like a rock star. His Charizard, a living legend, undefeated in over 500 matches. But what fuels this spectacle? What powers the giants that shake the earth? Enter Dynamax and Gigantamax, the phenomena that redefine battles on a titanic scale. Scattered across Galar are mysterious power spots, glowing craters humming with otherworldly energy. Step into one during battle, and your Pokémon swells to building-sized proportions for 3 turns, unleashing max moves, supercharged attacks that blanket the field in elemental fury. A Pikachu's Max Electric might summon a thunderstorm of sparks. A Corvic Knight's Max Airstream whips up gales that boost your team's speed. Gigantamax takes it further, exclusive to certain species that morph into unique, hulking forms with signature G-Max moves. Imagine a Gigantamax Toxtricity belting out G-Max Stun Shock, chains of poison electricity that paralyze foes and linger like toxic smog over a factory district. These aren't random powers. They stem from Galar's darkest secret, the darkest day. Thousands of years ago, a meteor crashed into the heart of the region, unleashing Eternatus, a colossal dragon of infinite energy. Its radiation warped wild Pokémon into rampaging giants, blanketing the skies in crimson darkness and threatening to consume everything. Heroes wielded Zacian and Zamazenta, the wolfish legendaries, in sword and shield forms, to seal it away. But remnants of that energy persist in those power spots, harnessed now for stadium thrills. The story unfolds through Chairman Rose of Macrocosmos, Galar's energy conglomerate, whose noble intentions spiral into catastrophe. He awakens Eternatus in a bid to avert a prophesied energy crisis, only to trigger a new darkest day. Skies fracture with purple rifts. Dynamax wild Pokémon roam free, while Sneasler drops from cliffs to claim unwary climbers. Regional forms debut here too, Wyrdeer evolving from Stantler through rides on ancient trails, in Ursaluna burrowing after peat block feasts, twisted evolutions reflecting isolation. Even starters adapt. Rowlet becomes Hisuian Decidueye, a ghostly archer, Cyndaquil to Typhlosion, ethereal flames, Oshawott to Basculagian, a leaping salmonid horror. These aren't cosmetic, they're survival traits forged in Hisui's crucible, where fire types ignite tundras and waters churn with unseen predators. The Survey Corps camps offer fleeting respite. Jubilife Village, with its creaking markets and fearful whispers of the red sky phenomenon. Missions pile up. Catch 10 paras, survey alphas without fainting, complete Pokédex entries by observing behaviours like Pichu grooming Pichu. Pastures fill with mons you can't battle yet, a tease of bonds to come. Outfits change for camouflage, ninja garb for stealth, noble robes for diplomacy. A massive ramble for your steed Hisuian Zorua variant, or surf on Basculagian's back through treacherous currents. Legends Arceus sold over 14 million copies by 2024, proving fans craved this primal pivot. It bridged Sinnoh's gods, Dialga's eternal ticks, Palkia's spatial folds, Giratina's distortion world to Hisui's grit, hinting at why modern trainers befriend what ancients fled. The end credits roll with you, etching the true Pokédex, a foundation for Oak's device centuries later. Yet echoes linger. Why did Arceus summon you, a star-fallen wanderer? What scars from Hisui's upheavals ripple into Diamond and Pearl's calm? As Hisui's ancient mists clear, we'll step into the sun-drenched paradoxes of Chapter 16, the Paldean open world, where boundaries dissolve entirely and every corner hides evolutionary secrets waiting to unfold. From the shadowed forests of ancient Hisui, where every rustle in the grass meant potential peril from wild Pokémon that struck first and asked questions never, the world of Pokémon leaped forward into a boundless horizon, unlike anything before. In November of 2022, Game Freak unveiled Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, thrusting you straight into the sun-drenched expanses of the Paldea region, a land modelled after the sun-baked coasts and rugged mountains of Spain and Portugal, where ancient ruins whisper of forgotten empires and olive groves stretch endlessly under azure skies. No more segmented routes or loading screens to shatter the illusion. This was the franchise's boldest pivot yet, a fully seamless open world that let you roam freely from the moment you stepped off the school bus in Messagosa, the region's sprawling central hub with its towering academy perched like a crown atop terraced cliffs. Picture yourself cresting a hill on your Corydon or Miraidon mount, those majestic legendaries that double as your personal ride, claws gripping sheer rock faces or soaring over canyons with effortless grace. Paldea's map unfolds in every direction. Arid badlands scarred by wind-worn mesas, misty highlands dotted with windmills that creak lazily in the breeze, and coastal dunes where waves crash against hidden coves teeming with water types. You could scale a sheer cliffside one moment, only to dive into underground caverns the next, emerging in a bioluminescent grotto alive with glowing fungi and skittish Pokémon. The freedom hits differently here. No invisible walls or linear paths dictate your journey. Instead, three intertwining storylines beckon: the classic Victory Road gyms, testing your team against the Elite Four's finest; the shadowy Starfall Street, delving into Team Star's rebellious underbelly with boss-like raids; and the Path of Legends, a hunt for massive Titan Pokémon that rumble across the landscape like living earthquakes, their shadows blotting out the sun as you battle them atop precarious ledges. But beneath this vibrant tapestry lies a mystery that pulls at the edges of reality itself, the enigma of Area Zero. Deep in Paldea's heart yawns the Great Crater, a colossal scar in the earth formed by some cataclysm eons ago, ringed by jagged peaks that pierce the clouds and shrouded in perpetual twilight mists. Legends speak of it as a forbidden zone, where the laws of nature bend and time frays at the seams. As you descend its spiraling research stations, abandoned labs, flickering with dying fluorescent lights, echoing with the ghosts of scientists' final logs, the truth unravels. Professors Sada in Scarlet or Turo in Violet, brilliant minds obsessed with eternity, unlocked the veil between eras through a shimmering time machine, humming with otherworldly energy. From its depths pour the Paradox Pokémon, ancient behemoths from Paldea's primordial past, like the hulking roaring moon with its cavernous maw and armoured scales evoking a draconic nightmare dredged from Jurassic depths, or Sandy Shocks, a magnetised Donphan variant that crackles with prehistoric fury. Flip the coin, and you encounter their futuristic counterparts. Sleek, mechanical marvels from a cybernetic tomorrow. Iron Valiant glides like a predatory android, its blade arms slicing air with plasma precision, while Iron Treads rolls on tank-like treads fused with Donphan's bulk, exhaust vents belching synthetic fumes. These aren't mere regional variants, they're echoes across the time stream, defying evolution's arrow. Scarlet summons the roaring ancients, Violet the ironclad futures, each group boasting stats and moves that twist battle dynamics. Fluttermane's ghostly future form drains life with spectral precision, while Great Tusk's ancient might shatters foes with brutal ground quakes. Area Zero's core reveals the Professor's tragic hubris. Clones gone rogue, timelines colliding in a vortex of distorted space, where your rival's tragic arc culminates in a heartfelt clash amid glowing crystals that pulse like a dying star. Layered atop this temporal rift is Paldea's most dazzling secret, the Terrastol phenomenon, born from the region's glittering Tera crystals that jut from the earth like jeweled spears, refracting sunlight into rainbows that dance across the valleys. Every Pokémon harbours a hidden Tera type, a crystalline core that awakens in battle with a radiant burst, transforming their body into a multifaceted gem and overwriting their weaknesses. A frail fire-type grass terra starter suddenly shrugs off water assaults, its petals hardening into diamond edges. A steel behemoth terrestrializes into flying, launching itself skyward on iridescent wings to dodge earthquake traps. In the wild, there's Tera Pokémon shimmer with exaggerated flair, massive raids where a herd of sparkling beasts challenge you under starry nights, their combined aura lighting the horizon like auroras. This mechanic didn't just dazzle in single-player epics, it reshaped the competitive meta from the ground up. VGC tournaments exploded with mind games. Predict your opponent's Terra type or watch your carefully crafted switch crumble. Terrastall boosted a Pokémon's same type attacks by 50% while nullifying prior weaknesses, birthing strategies like Terra Blast, a versatile nuke that adapts to your new typing, firing ice from a dragon or fairy from a dark. Iron Bundle, that futuristic Delibird knockoff, became a hyper-offense monster as Terra Water, outpacing even Dragapult with its icy barrages, and the meta cycled wildly through 2023. Early dominance by Walking Wake's ancient water prowess, countered by Terra Grass flips on arch rivals like Chi-Yu. Even legendaries like Koraidon gain new life, terrestrializing into fighting to punch through ghost immunities. Pros pored over stat sheets late into the night, debating coverage sets that accounted for every crystalline twist, turning Pokémon battles into chess matches played under disco lights. Yet for all its spectacle, Terrastall wove seamlessly into Paldea's ecology. Crystals embedded in ruins hint at an ancient cataclysm that birthed the crater, perhaps seeding the very paradox anomalies below. Expeditions into the wilds reward the patient explorer, rare Terra shards glinting in mountain crevices, or hidden dens where paradox herds clash in territorial brawls, and their roars echoing like thunder across the plains. Scarlet and Violet sold over 22 million copies in their first year, proving the open-world gamble paid off, even amid launch glitches that players fondly recall as part of the raw adventure. Clipping through mountains or mounts refusing jumps, all smoothed in patches that polished the gem further. As Paldea's mysteries fade into the rear view though, the real grind of mastery awaits in the hidden codes etched into every Pokémon's essence. The meticulous art of breeding that turns wild catches into competitive dynasties. Tune in next for Chapter 17, The Science of Breeding and IVs, where we'll uncover the numerical secrets that separate casual trainers from the breeders who chase perfection with ruthless precision. As you wander the vast expanses of Paldea, chasing those elusive paradox Pokémon warped by Area Zero's temporal anomalies, you might catch yourself wondering about the Pokémon already by your side, the ones you've raised from eggs, their stats finely tuned before they even hatched. Those hidden numbers, etched into their very being from the moment of conception, dictate whether a timid Bidoof becomes a wall of defense or a swift attacker that outpaces foes. Individual values, or IVs, are the silent architects of potential, randomly assigned at birth and unchangeable without rare interventions, shaping every battle from Kanto's gyms to Paldea's elite trials. Picture the humble daycare, that unassuming spot tucked away hundreds of species into your ranks, each with personal stories whispered in the fog-shrouded depths of Foggy Forest. Those titles exploded the formula, over 4 million sold worldwide by 2008, introducing Wonder Mail, passwords for mystery dungeons shared online, perfect apples tossed to grumpy bosses, and IQ stats climbing as you evolve from fledgling recruit to savior of dimensions. Sky Temple? No, Super Mystery Dungeon on 3DS in 2015, stripped back to basics, with a massive cast of over 700 Pokémon, your protagonist befriending everyone, from Pelipper mailmen to Jengar thieves, all while a void eclipse devours the world in a tale of 7 billion years, compressed into tear-jerking cutscenes. Gates to Infinity on 3DS in 2013, dared post-game worlds. You build brick by berry, recruiting legendaries to your floating paradise. And even the Switch era's rescue team, DX in 2020, remade the originals with crisp visuals, IQ evolutions, and Connect Orb megas that bridged old fans to new sleepy nights, grinding for that perfect team. What sets Mystery Dungeon apart is its unflinching gaze into Pokémon society without humans pulling strings. You haggle at Kecleon shops, feud with hostile guilds, deliver letters through bramble mazes, all while the story probes loneliness, redemption, and the quiet heroism of everyday rescues. Spinder's Cafe brews bitter herbs for reviver seeds. Lombre's hot springs soothe battle-weary limbs, and those guild exams test not power, but perseverance through fog-bound horrors. It's Pokémon has lived in ecosystem, where failure stings because your partner waits anxiously outside, clutching that one escape orb you forgot to pack. Shift your lens now to Pokémon Snap, the 1999 N64 oddity that ditched combat for a safari rail through river valleys and volcanic tunnels. Professor Oak, yes, that Oak, hands you a camera instead of a Pokédex, tasking you to snap wild Pokémon in their raw habitats. Pidgey fledglings tumbling from cliffs, Electrode exploding in 0-point cartridges, Mew soaring untouchable above rainbows. Your 0-1 scope rates poses by size, technique, and rarity, turning photography into high-stakes collection as you bait surfing Pikachu with apples or flare lights to wake grumpy Onyx. Japan got it first in March, North America that September, selling steadily without hype. Its tranquil biomes, from sun-dappled beach cave to shadowy river, offering a meditative peek into ecology, where Bulbasaur pods sway in breezes and Kabuto scuttle across fossilized shores. 2 decades later, new Pokémon Snap on Switch in 2021 expanded to 60 known Pokémon across Lental region. Night cycles revealing luminescent Wailord breaches, crystal flowers blooming under illumination, and Professor Mirror's research camp buzzing with data logs. You adjust lens focus for perfect shots of Torterra migrations or Ariado's silk bridges, scoring nectar flutes to summon dances, all scored to wind-swept valleys and echoing cries that lull you into the wild's rhythm. No battles, just observation, proving Pokémon thrive in stillness, their behaviours scripted with obsessive detail, like Sleepy Comfy drifting on lily pads or Tinkaton hammering threats from cave mouths. Then there's Pokémon Ranger, where the capture styler replaces Pokeballs with a disc that loops coloured rings around frantic foes, calming them into temporary allies. Debuting on DS in 2006, you patrol Fiore's nature reserves as a fresh ranger recruit. Stylus swirls building capture gauges amid stampeding herds, Raiden rampaging through jungles, Flygon whipping sandstorms, befriending without weakening, then borrowing their powers for environmental puzzles like Poliwrath blasting rock slides or Medicum levitating across chasms. Japan launched it March 24th. Global audiences hooked by summer, its 3 million sales spawning sequels. Shadows of Almia in 2008 with dress-up capture lines and psychic training. Then Guardian Signs in 2010 flipping to past eras where ancient guardians clash with evil core. Recruitable via past-future swaps and flare orb summons. Ranger reimagines partnership as guardianship. Your styler humming with charge as you lasso legendaries like Entei through fiery loops, or Regigigas in colossal slow motion, all while the story unfolds across polluted factories and volcano hearts, emphasizing harmony over dominance. No permanent teams, just fleeting trusts that dissolve at mission's end, leaving you to ponder the wild's independence. Pokémon Conquest in 2012 blended this with Nobunaga's Ambition, a strategy epic on DS where you claim the fractured Ransei region as a warlord, bonding Pokémon to warriors via kingdom affinities. Pikachu suits nimble ninjas in Aurora. Conkeldurr bolsters Awaji's brutes. Legendaries like Reshiram crown the finale. Over 50 kingdoms demand tactical grid battles, archers sniping flanks, cavalry charging lines, while castle upgrades simmer stews for morale boosts and blacksmiths forge orbs. Japan only at first under Gundam Seed voices, it crossed oceans as a sleeper hit, its feudal intrigue layering Pokémon evolutions atop samurai sagas, where maxing links unlocks megaforms and hidden episodes like Nobunaga's thunderous rampage. And lurking in obscurity, Japan-only gems, like the trading card game sequel for Game Boy Color in 2001. Building on the '98 debut with booster pack hunts, tournament climbs from Pebble Badge to Master Ball, and deck building against AI elites wielding promo Hoenns. No international glow, just 60 cards shuffled into virtual binders, prizes cascading from wins, a quiet sequel savouring the TCG's roots before digital leaps. These spin-offs fracture the formula, handing you a lens, a styler, a camera, or a guild rank to pierce Pokemon's soul through rescue pleas echoing in marble halls. Photo flashes freezing primal dances or war horns summoning legions across misty plains. Worlds where you're explorer, protector, artist, conqueror, all without a single trainer badge in sight. But sustaining these infinite adventures demands an unseen powerhouse, the Pokémon Center corporate empire quietly fueling every potion chug and Pokeball toss from its sprawling network of stores and secrets. Stick around to uncover how it all stocks the shelves. While spin-offs like Snap, Ranger and Conquest let you explore Pokémon worlds through fresh lenses, the real empire behind it all emerged from a quiet corporate merger that turned a sleepy game franchise into a global juggernaut. In April of 1998, Nintendo, Creatures Incorporated, and Game Freak pooled their strengths to birth the Pokémon Company, a dedicated entity designed to shepherd every aspect of the brand, from game development to merchandise madness. This wasn't just paperwork, it was a strategic masterstroke. By then, Pocket Monsters Red and Green had exploded from niche Game Boy titles into cultural phenomena, with the anime airing and trading cards flying off shelves. The partners realised they needed a unified front to handle the licensing, the expansions, the sheer volume of Pikachu plushies flooding toy stores. The Pokémon Company stepped in as the brand's guardian, each centralising control and funneling profits back into new ventures. Almost immediately, they unveiled their crown jewel, the physical Pokémon centers, flagship stores, blending retail therapy with immersive fandom. The very first Pokémon Center touched down in Nagoya, Japan, that same year of 1998, right in the heart of the city's Sunshine Sakai complex. Bustling hub, shelves groaning under waves of official merch, from gleaming Pokeballs to rare TCG boosters, all bathed in that signature blue and white aesthetic evoking the in-game healing spots. Fans lined up for hours, not just to shop, but to trade cards at communal tables, heal their virtual teams via linked Game Boy stations, and snap photos with life-size Charizards looming overhead. Nagoya wasn't chosen at random. It tapped into the Chubu region's Pokémon fervor, where early adopters devoured red and green upon release. Success snowballed fast. By 2000, Tokyo's Pokémon Center in the Ikebukuro district drew pilgrimage-level crowds, its multi-floor layout a labyrinth of temptations. Basement for apparel, upper levels for toys and sweets shaped like Jigglypuff. These weren't ordinary shops. They were experiential temples, complete with demo kiosks for gold and silver, event spaces hosting battles, and even cafes serving Pokepuffs that tasted suspiciously like victory. The formula clicked: create destinations that made owning Pokémon feel tangible, pulling devotees from across Japan. Expansion accelerated into the new millennium. Yokohama's branch opened in 2002, nestled in the landmark tower, capitalizing on the port city's international vibe, just as Ruby and Sapphire introduced Hoenn's aquatic wonders. Fukuoka followed in 2003, a southern stronghold amid the Gen 3 hype, its store design echoing Kyogre's oceanic majesty with rippling blue displays. By then, over a dozen centers dotted Japan, each tailored to local tastes. Osaka's with Kansai dialect merch, Sapporo's nodding to icy Sinnoh precursors. But the Pokémon Company didn't stop at bricks and mortar. They pioneered location-based marketing that wove stores into community fabric. Enter the Pikachu Outbreak events, massive summer festivals kicking off around Yokohama's Minato Mirai in 2014. Tens of thousands converge annually. And if those melodies ever coax you towards slumber, wait until you hear about Chapter 23. Pokémon Sleep and Lifestyle Apps, where the franchise turns your bedtime into a Pokédex entry all its own. Those ethereal leitmotifs from Junichi Masuda's Game Boy compositions, echoing through legendary battles, have a way of pulling you into a gentle haze, don't they? They set the perfect stage for Pokémon's quietest adventure yet, one that slips into your bedroom without a single Pokéball thrown. Pokémon Sleep arrived in Japan on July 17th, 2023, after years of anticipation since its announcement at a 2019 Pokémon Presents. Developed by Select Button, the team behind the puzzle gem Pokémon Cafe Mix, it transforms your nightly slumber into a monster collecting ritual. You don't chase Pokémon across grass patches or dive into caves. Instead, you pair your phone with a Pokémon Go++ device, a glowing wristband that vibrates softly as it logs every breath, toss and deep sigh through the night. Wake up and your sleep data blooms into a parade of Pokémon, each one drawn to the rhythm of your rest. Picture this. The app analyzes over 300 data points from your sleep, sorting you into one of 5 sleep styles. If you're a dozer, drifting off quick but stirring often, Snorlax might waddle into your camp, his massive frame heaving in sync with your lighter phases. Grumpies, those who wake grumpy after short bursts, attract fiery types like Houndoom, prowling the edges of your dreamscape. Dandy sleepers, refreshed and ready by morning, summon elegant dancers like Gardevoir. For restless souls flipping all night, nocturnal collectors like Drowsy emerge from the shadows. And if you nod off late but sleep sound, late risers call to Umbreon's watchful gaze. Each style unlocks specific Pokémon, rarer ones appearing only after flawless nights, turning consistency into your greatest capture tool. This passive collection feels almost magical, a far cry from the frantic tapping of mainline games. Your camp grows overnight, tents pitched by slumbering Pokémon who befriend each other while you're out cold. Feed them berries in the morning, choices tied to your sleep score, and watch friendships deepen, evolving into helpers that boost future hauls. Events layer on seasonal twists, like holiday-themed sleeps where Jirachi grants wishes for perfect rest, or research expeditions sending your team to far-off islands for exclusive catches. It's collection without conquest, where the real grind is building habits that Pokémon reward. But Pokémon didn't stop at shut-eye. Enter Pokémon Smile, launched worldwide in 2021 for iOS, a dental delight from the Pokémon Company, tying hygiene to AR whimsy. Point your phone at your teeth mid-brush, and a parade of Pokémon marches across your smile. Pikachu scrubbing with electric vigor, or Piplup spitting foam like a pro. The camera tracks your motion, timing sessions to 2 minutes, with sparkles bursting for thorough coverage. Miss a spot, and mischievous Mimikyu sneaks in to remind you. Finish strong, and you unlock stickers for Pokémon Home, bridging oral care to your broader collection. It's wellness woven into whimsy, nudging kids and adults toward routines with Pikachu's grin as the prize. These apps mark Pokémon's bold pivot into lifestyle, health woven into the fabric of daily life. No badges to earn, no gyms to conquer, just subtle nudges toward better sleep, brighter smiles, all while padding your Pokédex. Pokémon Smile gamifies the sync, turning bristles into battles against plaque Pokémon. while sleep redefines grinding as genuine rest. Together, they expand the franchise beyond screens into your veins, your breath, your bedtime, and none of this floats in isolation. Pokémon Home, released February 12th, 2020, serves as the eternal vault for your lifetime of catches. This cloud-based hub syncs across every game and app. Switch titles like Scarlet and Violet, mobile hits like Go and Sleep, it's even the ancient Game Boy cores via Virtual Console. Transfer a shiny Snorlax from your sleep camp into Legends Arceus, or park Smile-earned stickers as trophies. With tiers from free basic storage to premium pasturing for thousands, it promises perpetuity. No lost teams from forgotten cartridges. Sleep Pokémon hops straight to into Home's pasture, ready for trade or battle elsewhere, making every nap a step toward completion. Imagine archiving decades of hunts, that Gen 1 Venusaur from your 96 red cart mingling with a 2023 Dozer-style Comala. Home's GTS pulses with global swaps, mystery gifts from events, and raid rewards, all safeguarded in Nintendo's cloud. Updates add compatibility waves, folding in new releases seamlessly, so your collection endures like the stars in a Sinnoh night sky. As Pokémon Sleep clocks your deepest dreams and Smile polishes your grin, they hint at a franchise maturing with its fans, nudging us toward lives as balanced as a well-trained team. But the horizon glows brighter still. In Chapter 24, the 30th anniversary and beyond, we'll uncover the massive celebrations planned for 2026, secrets from upcoming titles that could redefine everything you thought you knew, pulling back the curtain on Pokémon's next evolutionary leap. You won't want to miss how it all culminates. As sleep tracking fades into the rhythm of your dreams, those passive collections of Snorlax and Drowsy give way to something far grander, the quiet march toward Pokémon's 30th anniversary in 2026. That milestone sneaks up on us, doesn't it? 30 years since Satoshi Tajiri first released Pocket Monsters, Red and Green, on February 27, 1996, in Japan, a pair of Game Boy cartridges that whispered promises of endless worlds just beyond the screen. You can almost feel the weight of that history in your hands now, the plastic edges worn smooth from countless trades over that glowing link cable. Tajiri's childhood in rural Machida, flipping rocks for beetles and trading them with friends, birthed this vision, a digital meadow where every encounter sparks connection. Not the flashy battles or legendary summons, but the simple thrill of linking two Game Boys, watching data pulse between them like fireflies in the dusk. That link cable wasn't just hardware, it was the heartbeat of discovery, turning solitary hunts into shared adventures. Players across Japan, then the world, huddled in bedrooms and playgrounds, swapping Bulbasaurs for Squirtles, building bonds that no server could replicate. Fast forward through the generations, and that core pulses stronger. By 2026, over 1,000 Pokémon roam free across more than 60 core games, spin-offs like Legends Arceus and Scarlet Violet pushing into vast open skies on the Nintendo Switch. But the real tease lies ahead. On whatever next-generation hardware Nintendo unveils, rumors swirl of more powerful chips, seamless online trading without the old frustrations of wonder trades gone wrong, worlds that blend Kanto's nostalgia with Unova's sprawl in real time. Feel the hum of a console that loads entire regions instantly, where your team from Gold and Silver syncs effortlessly with a fresh Legends title, every IV and EV carrying forward like a living diary of your playthroughs. Yet it's those boring details, the ones we drone on about in these late-night chapters, that anchor it all. Take the meticulous timeline, tucked into the games themselves. Kanto's fresh start in Red and Blue sits at year 0. Then 3 years pass before Gold and Silver's Johto dawn, with its day-night cycles and breeding mechanics that turn Pokémon into legacies, parents passing traits to offspring. Developers like Toshinobu Matsumiya slip those hints into notes, piecing together 12 or 13 years from Pallet Town to Nimbasa City. Hoenn and Sinnoh floating parallel like distant islands in the lore ocean. You don't need to memorize it, but it lingers, doesn't it? That subtle chronology weaving Fire Red's remakes into Let's Go's modern glow, or Platinum's distorted world echoing Crystal's radio signals. These threads keep the community alive, breath by breath. Forums dissect Rotom's appliance forms from Platinum, released September 13th, 2008 in Japan, debating how they nod to Gen 1's missing mechanics. Trading Card Game Pocket, the mobile app that hit in 2024, revives that 1998 Game Boy adaptation with hyper-detailed scans of those original cards, foil edges glinting under your thumb. It's the corporate grind too. The Pokémon Company, forged April 1st, 1998, by Nintendo, Creatures, and Game Freak, methodically opening centers from Nagoya's bustling shelves to Yokohama's 2002 glow, then global outposts like Pokémon Korea in 2005, Pikachu outbreaks since 2014 flood Yokohama streets with thousands in yellow hoods. Not for spectacle, but to trade, battle, connect. Tajiri's vision thrives in this persistence. He stepped back after gold and silver, but his echo resonates. Connectivity isn't Wi-Fi lobbies. It's the kid in 1996 trading his Venusaur for a friend's Charizard, discovering rarity in the exchange. Discovery isn't just new forms, Alolan Raichu floating on psychic pancakes, but the ecology beneath, natures from Ruby and Sapphire, shaping every leveled-up partner, effort values grinding in the shadows of victory roads worldwide. By 2026, apps like Pokémon Home, launched February 22nd, 2020, become the ultimate link cable. You're archiving your box from Diamond Pearl's Sinnoh chills to Sleep's midnight slumbers. Communities don't fade because of shiny Charizards, or Go's billion downloads in 2016. They endure these quiet rituals. Players catalogue every manga volume, Diamond and Pearl wrapping December 25th, 2008, or film airings like Arceus and the Jewel of Real World Aid, turning Gotta Catch 'em All into global good. It's why Scarlet Violet's terrestrial phenomenon, crystals shattering in open Paldean skies, feels like Gen 1's spark renewed, hardware limits dissolving into fluid exploration. As we crest this 30th year, next-gen whispers promise hardware that cradles Tajiri's dream tighter. Persistent worlds, where your Unova team from Black-White, 2 years before Black, 2 White 2, roams alongside Kalos Megas, all synced in cloud saves that hum without interruption. No more cartridge swaps, just seamless discovery, trades blooming across oceans, like beetles under summer stones. These boring facts, the release dates etched in code, the EVs accruing unseen, they're the roots holding firm, letting the franchise bloom for decades more. Your own collection, whispering continuity into the night. And in that quiet legacy, every catch, every link, pulls you deeper still. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.